and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Talking Sports. I'm Sgt. Rock. I'll be joined shortly by Joe Stovall. Here's what we're going to be talking about this afternoon. That's if anybody's listening, because we all know that it is March Madness, and we got games going on as we speak. Duke just got beat, 78-71 by Mercer. That would have upset that was. Duke shot something like 37 three-pointers. Also, out of 62 shots. So that tells you, live by the three, you die by the three. Also, we're going to be talking about Illinois. They survived Boston College, what was that, Wednesday night, I think, in the not invited tournament, the NIT. They'll take on Clemson come Sunday. Also, Michael Jordan, he apologized for his shoes falling apart. We'll tell you about that. Also, Phil Jackson, he's come out of retirement. He's now the president of the New York Knicks. And Devin Hester is now in Atlanta. We got all that and more coming up on this edition of Talking Sports. You be sure and stay tuned.
Welcome back. Talking Sports WBCP 1580 and UPTV channel
6
U versus
9.
March Madness is upon us. It is very maddening. You know, when Warren Buffett, before the NCAA tournament started, he said that he would give away $1 billion if somebody turned in the perfect bracket.
I'm betting that I have that perfect bracket.
I'm betting you don't have. I'm betting $2 bazillion that you don't have that perfect bracket.
I haven't lost a game yet. Bada bing, bada bing.
Oh, I forgot. You fill your brackets out after the game.
Very much so.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it.
It is.
You are a smart man.
I know it.
You should have the perfect bracket.
I graduated from a school that didn't start with www.
You don't have an online degree is what you're saying.
That's it.
You're from the school of hard knocks.
There you go.
That's your bracket?
That's perfect bracket.
That's the perfect bracket. You keep filling it out, sir. Over here, I don't know if Jason, production, director, cameraman, here are my 4 brackets that I've filled out.
Oh, 4, all right.
And of the 4, not once did I pick Mercer over Duke.
I don't think, well, I'm for anybody against Duke.
Well,
That'd be just me, though.
but that's more of a emotional, sentimental appeal, right? Has nothing to do with trying to win money.
Yes. That's the reason why I got Mercer down here, see?
Yeah, but you filled it out after the game, is what I'm saying.
No, actually, I filled it out with about 5 minutes left in the game. I think it was tied then.
I know a lot of people out there, you know, wringing their hands right now.
Let's hope they listening.
You know,
But you can listen to radio and
watch TV with the volume down.
exactly.
I do that all the time.
Let's hope that's what they're doing.
You know, I just like pictures. That's really, you know.
Let's hope that's what they're doing. Or we're going to be sitting here talking to ourselves for the next 2 hours.
We've been doing that for quite some time.
I know, 10 years.
It's like a bad marriage, I keep telling you.
I know you keep saying that.
Yeah.
I'm going to get rid of you sooner or later.
I get half, though.
Hmm?
I get half.
You can have my half.
Yeah, that's half of zero is what?
Nothing.
Right.
Nothing from nothing leaves
Just
nothing.
like what we just said earlier about Warren Buffett. Now, if you look at what's happening right now, tournament started actually on Tuesday with the first 4, as they call them now.
Why do they call it the first 4?
That's the first 4 guys, first 4 teams into the tournament now. You know, just like they call it the Final 4, the last 4.
They should call them the last 4.
Well, no, because you already have Final 4.
No, see, that's the Final 4 is at the end. The last 4 to get into the tournament are those last 4 teams that play. First 4 teams that play.
You'd say that again?
The last 4 teams that get into the tournament
Are the first 4
teams that play.
That's why they call it the first 4. See?
No, that's why they should call them the last 4.
Yeah, this is a bad marriage. Irreconcilable differences we have right now.
Exactly.
No. But the tournament started Tuesday. Iowa, Tennessee, Albany, you know, teams like that played. They come into the tournament, and now they flipped the switch and they said, let's go. And you saw last night If you go back to the first round of last year's tournament, there was one game decided by 1 point. Yesterday, the first game was decided. Ohio State and Dayton was determined by 1 point. And you had four overtime games.
Right.
And, you know, just things snowballing into this maddening tournament. But I keep saying this, and I'll keep saying this, and I'll keep saying this. Tournament basketball is so totally different from regular season basketball. And when you see these upsets, you know, people are so amazed by it, but you shouldn't be. Because there's three elements of tournament basketball that are totally different from regular season basketball.
And what are those elements, Joe?
Element number one, unfamiliarity. Can I say that again?
Yeah.
Unfamiliarity.
You said it first the right time.
Did it?
You screwed it up.
Everything.
Anyway, they don't know each other.
There you go. Say it for the people out there.
They don't know each other.
Because I don't know you and you don't know me, the expectations, I can scout you, I can watch film, but I only have 3-4 days to prepare for you. So because of that, I don't get a good feel for who you are. Because of that unfamiliarity.
You don't know each other.
We don't know each other. Teams get on the court, and that slight hint of confidence can come if you can stay. If I'm the 3 seed and you're the 14 seed, and you can play 10 minutes with me, pretty soon you believe you can play 20 minutes with me. Pretty soon you're playing 30 minutes with me. Pretty soon I'm looking up, it's 2 minutes left in the game, and you still playing with me.
And I think that was the thing that got Duke caught up this afternoon. Is they didn't know Mercer. Mercer was a much experienced ball team. They had something like 7 seniors on their team. I think 5 of them were starting. I know you don't like to use the term young team, but Duke is a young team. You know, sophomores and freshmen. And Mercer hung around with Duke, hung around with Duke, and toward the end of the ball game, that experience started to show with Mercer.
Excellent segue, people. UPTV Channel 6, U versus
99.
There you go. You just segued into the second part. Talent versus experience. Most of your power teams, whether it be the Duke you just talked about, an Ohio State who lost to Dayton, Oklahoma who lost to, what was it, North Dakota State?
North Dakota. No, wait a minute.
See,
yeah, North Dakota State.
North Dakota State.
Yeah, I see it now.
NDS. You had Tulsa, UCLA, Harvard, Cincinnati. Most of these teams, as you said, don't play in the power conferences, but they've had years to nurture their players into their system. So I'm 27-6, but I play in the Ivy League, for example. 27-6. I don't care if I'm playing in the Big Ten, Pac-10, Ivy League. That's 27-6. I've won 27 games.
That's a good year.
What it is a culture of winning. And when you have a culture of winning, it's a mental thing. It's not a physical thing. So I'm not intimidated when the Dukes and the Carolinas and the Michigans and the Arizonas and the Floridas come on the floor. It's just another basketball team. Second part is, we go back to the talented teams. Those teams that you speak of that, you know, as you said, you like to use the word young or youthful. They're talented, but they don't have the experience of playing in the big dance. You could win all the high school titles you want.
Right.
But now when you come out and there's 25, 35, 40,000 people in a building.
Not to mention nationally televised.
Millions of people at home watching. That's a different kind of pressure. So that's the second area, is that youth versus experience.
Well, Mercer hadn't been to the tournament in 29 years.
But they had some experienced ball players
Yeah.
who could play the game. The final thing is, And I think this is where how the expansion of basketball has happened. Go back to the days of UCLA when they used to win the national championship every year, 60s and 70s. UCLA would get all the talent to come to Westwood, and they would nurture that talent. Freshmen weren't eligible back then. They would play sophomore, junior, senior year.
Well, it wasn't no one and done back then
Right.
either. So, if you wanted to play basketball, you played all 4 years.
Right. But the point is that most of the talent only went to a few schools because there wasn't that many basketball players. Fast forward to 2014, there is a plethora of players throughout the country, and for one reason or another, they all can't go to Kentucky, Duke, Carolina, Michigan State. Let's say a guy maybe is a late bloomer, and he ends up at Mercer. So when he went to Mercer as a freshman, maybe he wasn't that good. Guy that goes to Manhattan because maybe he wasn't highly recruited out east. But then you get a chance to go against a Louisville like they did last night. The talent pool is bigger and it's broader, and because that talent pool is bigger and broader, and you got limitation on scholarships. So even though Kentucky might get 5 guys, top 50 that comes in, the difference between, I believe, that first tier, the top 10, that's one group. But from 11 to 100,
Well,
it's not that much of a variance in talent.
Okay, you mentioned Kentucky a little while ago. Now, Kentucky had about the best recruiting class in the nation last year.
Past 2 years.
Yeah. And you see how they played this year.
It goes back to the second part of the equation, youth versus experience. Because you were a McDonald's All-American does not automatically equate to being a NCAA All-American. It doesn't translate that you're going to be the best because you were the best in high school. It doesn't translate that you're going to be the best in college. And then there's the other thing that people don't talk about. Sometimes some guys peak. Their best play is behind them. Their best play was when they were in high school. There are other guys who, like I said, are late bloomers. They either start to grow after their freshman year, their skill level goes up, something happens. Because if you notice, the guys who are the best coming out of high school, by the time it's time for 2-3 years down the road, they're not the best in college, or that fact, they're not even the best going to the NBA.
Because that's the reason, because they're playing players that are equally, if not better, than they are. Especially when you're just coming out of high school, taking it to the, as they say, the next level. And college is the next level. It's a much faster game, and the players are a lot more athletic than the ones you have been playing with. So like you said, it's a different kind of pressure on you now.
And that's why, like I said, with those 3 things, this tournament basketball.
And one and done.
Right. Survive and advance. You made a comment in the pregame show about if you live by the 3, you die by the 3. I beg to differ on that. Everybody's living by the 3. The 3-point line has been in college basketball for 30 years now.
Okay. I mentioned earlier, Duke shot 37 threes out of 62 shots. So what does that tell you?
That tells you they shot 37 threes out of 62 shots.
And still lost. My point is, everybody's shooting a 3. It used to be the 3 was brought in to equalize. You'd be the more talented team. I had maybe some shooters on the perimeter, so I'm trading 3s for 2s with you. What we're seeing now, everybody's shooting a 3. Everybody's jacking the 3 up. The issue is, as me and you talk about using Illinois as an example, and we'll segue into the Illini, is making shots. If you're not making shots on a particular night, especially in tournament basketball, that one and done, you're done. And so now the issue has to be, how judicious are you in terms of the way you run your offense? Because if I'm just shooting 3s and you're shooting 2s, you're primarily a low post game. Do you know you have to shoot over 50% from the 2 line
I only have to shoot 33% from the 3 line for us to play even game.
But see, your average of making your 2s is a lot better than making your 3s.
Right, but there's a 1 point difference, and because that differential, as I just stated, you only have to make a third of your 3s to equal somebody making 50% of their 2s. So that's why I said everybody shoots the 3 now. The math belies the logic of, okay, I'm going to shoot 50% from the field, but if you're shooting layups and I'm knocking down 3s, I'm always getting, if we're trading back and forth, I'm always going to be up. Okay. So that's why teams have now incorporated the 3 into basically everybody's offense. Duke, Jabari Parker, he's 6'9", athleticism, just out of the wazoo. But he shoots a lot of 3s. Mm-hmm. Because that's where the game has gone and has evolved to.
And Mercer defensed him well today, too.
And because of what happens there, not making shots, what happens? Go home early. Mm-hmm. Pack it up. Now, we talked earlier, anything else about NCAA, though?
Well, let's go. That dude from Ohio State's finally out of
Aaron Craft?
Yeah, he's finally out of school now, so... You know, he been in Ohio State for what, 10 years, something like that.
I think he got his PhD.
That was a good ball game yesterday, Ohio State.
It was a good ball game, but it also goes to here it is, your Dayton. Think about the mentality of Dayton coming in. You get that one shot to play the top team in your state. Forget the tournament. You never would get to play Ohio State in regular season because why would Ohio State schedule a Dayton?
Money.
No, because if Ohio State scheduled Dayton,
it wouldn't be a money game.
It wouldn't be a money game for Ohio State. It'd be a money game for Dayton. There's no incentive for Ohio State to schedule a Dayton. But now when you play them in the tournament, there's the incentive for Dayton to say, we got one chance to knock off the top team in the state. There's their motivation. Mm-hmm. Goes back to what we said about not knowing each other. Now that may be a little different. A Dayton, maybe there's kids on that team that got a chip in their shoulder because they weren't recruited by
Ohio State.
There you go. And now I'm going to show you
why you should have picked me.
Yes, there you go. And now you get a team like Ohio State who started the year off 15-0. They split their last 20 in the season, 25-10, and they had trouble scoring baskets throughout that 20-game stretch. And it reared its ugly head yesterday, and that's the reason why Aaron Craft was laying on the floor like he was on spring break beach looking up at the sun going, it's done.
Yeah, it's over.
You know, Big Ten, Michigan State, Adrian Payne, 41 points, lights out. Mm-hmm. Wisconsin wins about 40.
Yeah.
You know, Michigan, double-digit victory there. You know, obviously Iowa went out in the first 4 games against Tennessee. We just talked about Ohio State being out. So, you know, the Big Ten.
Yeah, all right. Holding their own right now.
They're holding their own right now.
Harvard. I mean, this was basically a pick'em game because it was a 9-10 seed. But Harvard went on to beat Cincinnati in another well-played ball game. Now, you think of Harvard as smart.
Mm-hmm.
Law students, doctors,
presidents,
not really basketball players. And when you look at the Ivy League as a whole, there's no players in the Ivy League.
Well, I think that's where the misnomer comes from. You think about, where did Jeremy Lin go to school?
Who?
Jeremy Lin.
He went to Harvard. No.
He went to Harvard. Who was Harvard's coach? It's Tommy Amaker.
Formerly with Michigan, wasn't it?
He was formerly with Michigan as a coach, played basketball at Duke, you know, has a very good track record. But it goes back to what I said about winning. Harvard is in the tournament with a 27-6 record. That's 27 wins. You can talk about the Ivy League and say maybe they don't have any talent here or there. This is Division I basketball. This is not like Harvard. I think what happens a lot of times, we look at teams like you just did in terms of where they come from, and we want to belittle what they have and forget they're not a Division III school. Mm-hmm. They're not a Division II school. That's a Division I men's basketball program. If you're playing Division I men's basketball, you're a pretty good basketball player. I don't care what school you go to. And if you're a school that makes it to the NCAA tournament, you got to be pretty good. So when you look at a Mercer, you look at a Harvard, you look at a Manhattan, Cal Poly, Albany, just continue to run through those schools like that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. What it really is, it goes back to what we said about not being familiar with these. If you have not seen Harvard play or seen them on ESPN, the natural assumption is they're not any good, and that's not the case. Obviously, by being a 12 seed, knocking off a 5 seed like Cincinnati,
mm-hmm.
and Cincinnati was one of your better teams.
Yeah,
that you saw this year, and I think that's really the issue: the visual of seeing a team compared to just reading about or seeing them in a bracket has changed the way we make these decisions. And so, like think about when the seedings come out on Sunday when they do the selection show. When you hear Cincinnati's a 5 seed going against Harvard a 12 seed, well, you've seen Cincinnati play multiple times on ESPN. You've never seen Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
When Cincinnati beats a Memphis or a UConn, you're like, that's a pretty good basketball team. There's no way Harvard can beat them. Why not? Because the committee said Harvard's a 12 seed, and the committee said Cincinnati's a 5 seed. So we trust in the committee in terms of the way they seed the tournament.
But if you ever took bracketology 101, you know that a lot of times a 5 seed will beat a 12 seed.
Right.
A 12 seed will beat a 5 seed.
The 5-12, the 6-11, and the 3-14, mm-hmm. There's upsets in those every year. We've talked about it with our buddy RJ Bell from pregame.com.
Mm-hmm.
Talks about it every year, and every year it happens. And now, as I've said before, what's going to happen, it may not happen this year, but what's going to happen, you're going to see a 16 beat a 1.
Yeah, you keep saying it.
And it's going to happen. And it's going to happen because teams who keep becoming 1 seeds, and we talked earlier about talent and experience, etc., there's going to be a 16 seed to come in, and they're going to play one of those first 4 games, and they're going to come in on a roll, and then that number 1 seed, for whatever reason, you think about what happened with Florida. Florida struggled with Albany.
Yeah, they did.
They ended up winning by double digits, but they struggled with them. And it's going to be that perfect storm for that 1 seed not making shots, not handling the ball, not mentally prepared, and then that 16 seed believing that they belong in the tournament.
Okay, well, you got Arizona going to be playing Weber State here a little later on this afternoon, and Wichita State playing Cal Poly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, those are 2 number 1 teams that are left have not yet played.
Mm-hmm.
Think it's going to happen with one of those?
If it happens, first of all, I would say it's not going to happen this year, but if it does, then you can see a Weber State who plays out west, who doesn't get the limelight, doesn't get on TV as much. You catch an Arizona team, you said it earlier, young, they're led by freshmen and sophomores.
Mm-hmm.
They get in the tournament, they're very athletic, and Weber State goes in there and slows the game down. Starts to, they grind it out, get the shot clock down to 10 every time.
Using all the seconds.
Right. And now you get that young team that's impatient, wanting to run, young thoroughbreds, and now they start pushing the pace, and instead of pushing the pace, getting dunks and layups, now they're pushing the pace and they're turning the ball over. And Weber State goes to halftime
tied up.
Either tied or it's a 1-possession game,
mm-hmm.
either way. And then something fluky happens. Your best player gets hurt for Arizona. Foul trouble happens. Officials just doing a poor job, and now you get in that grind and you look up at the clock.
We can win this.
And it's under 10, and Weber State's right there.
Mm-hmm.
So if I could see it happening, that would be the game. But possible, yes. Probable, no.
All right. Let's keep it in tournament play. Illinois, Wednesday night in the not invited tournament.
The net. I'm going to the net. We're 69.
Yeah, not invited tournament. The NIT, they won, barely squeaked by Boston College Wednesday night. I was surprised. Boston College had them by 17 points at one point in the ball game. Illinois got it down to 10, I think, by halftime. Never really led the game until I think it was something like 3 minutes left in the game before they finally took a lead, and they held on to win by 3 points.
Couple things there. Boston University, Illinois. Boston University first. They play in a conference where there's only one automatic bid. You got to win the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't get in, so they're coming off that emotional roller coaster of the lows of not getting into the NCAA tournament, but now the highs of, hey, we're going to get to play another game. They play in a conference, or they play at home, where they really don't get that much fan support. So the attendance for the Illinois-Boston University game was about 1,300 people. Now, if you put that in proper perspective,
That's about Illinois.
that's
Size of Illinois crowd.
no, that's Champaign Central, Champaign Centennial crowds. 1,300 people. So you're playing basically in front of a high school-sized crowd.
In a high school-sized gym.
No, it was in a collegiate-sized gym.
Oh,
So now it's almost like a glorified scrimmage. And the hardest thing for an athlete to do is to get motivated when you look up and everybody's dressed like a Sikh. It's like, man, everybody got on red. No, that's not everybody. Those are red chairs.
well, I heard it was a good contingency of Illinois fans at the ball game.
Okay, so let's say more than half. Let's say 800 were Illini fans. That's still only 800 people when you're accustomed to playing in front of 10, 12, 14,000.
It's the NIT.
The net. You're playing in the net, so nobody's there.
Nobody's there.
So I think, as you know, speaking from the athlete's position, the motivation to play is not there like it would be in any other ball game when you're basically playing in an empty arena.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you can hear the guy all the way at the top say, "Oh, wow," and then the guy at the concession stand turn around and go, "I and I." You know, I mean that's the environment you're playing in. Final thing though, it also, you know, one thing I do appreciate about what we do is we tell the truth. We give credit where credit's due.
That's right.
When Illinois is playing bad, what do you say?
They suck.
That's it. Illinois has been playing pretty good for the past 8 games.
Decent ball.
Playing some decent basketball. And so you got to give kudos where kudos are due. Start with Ravante Rice, 28 points.
Yeah.
He basically took Illinois, put him on his back, and carried him.
Well, he had something like 11 rebounds, something like that.
I mean, he played one heck of an inspired ball game. Second thing is you look at the goal of John Gross was, let's play some additional games so we can get some additional practice, because his goal is already 14-15. 13-14 season, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
These games and practices are for preparation of this team going into next year. And so now to win another game, and now you're going to go down to Clemson and play a brunch game, a late breakfast, early brunch game.
What time of game started? What, 10 o'clock?
10 o'clock our time, 11 o'clock their time.
Be in church.
Right. So, you know, if you ever see everybody in church with their head down, they're not praying.
Yeah,
they're checking their phones.
Looking at their
see
phone,
the
see what the score is.
But I think if you get victory 1, which you've already gotten with Boston U, you get victory 2 at Clemson on Sunday.
You head to the Final Four.
Well, you'll go to the 8
No,
quarterfinals.
Elite Eight.
But you win that game, then you're headed to the Final Four. And I think for Illinois, with everything that's happened this year, if they get to New York, that's got to be a top accomplishment for this program, considering everything that's happened since, you know, last year. So,
well, let's hope that happens. All right, let me see. We're going to take a break. That's what we're going to do. Before we do, Michael Jordan had to apologize to a NBA player because during the course of the game, the guy was wearing Michael Jordan's Air Jordans, and the sole came off his shoe. How embarrassing can that be? So Michael Jordan issued a personal apology, Joe, for his shoe coming undone.
well, the first thing Michael Jordan ought to do is apologize to all them people who paid in ridiculous prices for the shoes coming undone.
What,
When somebody stick a gun in your back and take them off your feet.
What are the shoes? $170?
Man, some of them shoes cost over $300. So to apologize to a player because the equipment exploded on the court, that's more about marketing and worried about the images out there. But he should have more concern about the fact he's been selling these shoes for 30 years now. At what point is the Jordan brand and Nike itself going to look in the mirror and say, enough is enough?
We out here robbing folks.
Right.
Hey, but it's the American way, people.
I don't know.
It's the
I mean,
American
the issue, I agree, I'm a capitalist. You know me, whenever we have these debates, what do I say it's about?
It's about the money.
It's about the money. But I'm really looking at what the Jordan brand and these shoes have done in terms of the consumer illiteracy, for the lack of a better term, in terms of what's happened within certain communities with these shoes.
Now, well, hey, now you know as well as I do. Some of these kids and adults will go out here and buy these shoes, won't have money to buy food, but for their image, for their swag, they need to go get them some Jordans. When the shoes come out, there's people lined up around the block like they're getting ready to get the new Apple iOS phone.
Right.
To get the first pair of Jordans.
Right.
What that says is
in terms of culture.
Culture of our people who do that.
Oh, I agree about self-responsibility and self-control and all the things that you're implying with that. But if you see as a brand such as Jordan that the detrimental behavior that your product creates, shouldn't there also be some type of corporate responsibility to either say, hey, we need to reduce our price on this product
so that these sort of things don't happen?
Right.
The guy wouldn't put a gun in the back and take your sneakers if they cost $79.
They compared to spending $150, $200 for the shoes. You ever been robbed for your Reeboks?
Nope. Converse either?
Everybody ever took your Chuck Taylors?
Nope.
Everybody took your shell-toed Adidas?
Nope.
That's where I'm going with this.
Okay.
So for him to apologize for the guy's shoe blown up on the court is one thing, but he needs to have, to me, some more communal responsibility when it comes to the price of that product.
Well, if somebody go out and buy my shoe, don't rob them. Is that what you're saying? Did you say?
No, what I'm saying, we're going to reduce the price, and that way we can reduce the chances of you being robbed. Because to me, it's a false value that they've put on the shoe. If I sell you a product for $300 and it's just tennis shoes, you create, so the value, the mental value to other people is, man, Sam must be rolling if he got $300 to buy them shoes. Let me go stick him up.
Oh, but see, you just don't have one pair.
You gotta have 3, 4,
you got
5.
7, 8, 9 pair of Jordans at home.
Right.
Different pair every day.
Right. And on the personal responsibility side, I really, if one individual goes out and buys one pair, everybody does a little, splurging for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
When as you talked earlier, when you see these boutiques and stores with lines going down the block and around the corner, so that somebody can say, I was the first one
to get your new Jordans.
No.
You walk out the store, got a big old grin on your face, and there's a dude standing in the alley waiting on you to walk by.
With a bigger grin. You're like, oh, here comes Sam.
I got the first pair of Jordans.
I got the second pair, which was the first pair that Sam had.
Yeah. All right. I said, okay, we said about 10 minutes ago we was getting ready to take a break. But you see, with March Madness going on right now, the subject has came up again. All the millions that these NCAA and WCBS or CBS is going to be making off these basketball games.
Mm-hmm.
And the subject has rose again. Should these basketball players be paid?
Of course.
We'll talk about that when we come back.
Welcome back. Talking Sports WBCP 1580. UPTV Channel 6, U versus 99. Just got through talking about March Madness and the crazy things that happen in the NCAA tournament. It's crazy.
I know it.
That's why they call it madness.
This is the best time of the year when it comes to basketball.
I think it's the best time of year when it comes to sports. Because you think about what's happening all at the same time. Baseball's just a week away or so for opening day. You've got the collegiate March Madness going on. You have high school March Madness going on. You've got NFL free agency going on. And NASCAR is in full swing now. You've got basically a blending of almost all the major sports.
Hockey and
NBA.
and
And the NBA are winding their regular seasons down, getting ready for the playoffs. You know, boxing starting to come back into play in terms of a couple of major fights that'll be on the horizon. You name it, it's out there for you as a sports fan.
It's going on.
Yeah. So this is a special time of the year. Real special.
Okay, before we went to break, we was talking about, like I said, once March Madness got underway. And I was reading an article by Royce Watkins. In fact, doesn't he teach at
Syracuse?
Syracuse, yes.
Economic professor.
Yeah, and you know, Syracuse is in the tournament. Anyway, once again, Royce got on his soapbox about why these athletes should be paid.
Right.
He's like, take away the scholarships, pay them some money, and then they can pay their own way through school.
Right. Well, first of all, it's to me shouldn't be about paying them and they'll pay their own way through school. Number one, as an athlete comes in and he's scholarshiped. He's scholarshiped based on at the school you're coming into, so they're paying a scholarship back to themselves, which to me is, you know, it's like, Sam, I'm gonna give you $10 to work for me. Now give me the $10. You know, I'm going to give you, that's your scholarship. So I'm going to give you $10, but you got to give it back to me.
It's not happening.
That's what a scholarship is.
No.
And that's my point is that
okay.
You're saying that's not happening. I'm saying, no, that's what it is. The school is giving you money to give back to them for your education. It's a Ponzi scheme.
That what it is? But I mean, look at it whole. I mean, the athletes, they eat better than others.
No, let's stop.
Come on now.
Let's stop right there.
I've been down in the mess hall.
Let's stop right there.
I've been down in the mess hall with them football players eat.
Okay.
They eat good.
Okay, so
they eat real good.
Okay, so what you're telling me, the trade-off is that because I can eat a steak dinner every now and then.
Every night if you want to.
You know, it is the equivalent to being, they're taking care of me better. Even though I'm out there, I'm primarily doing work for the school to generate millions of dollars for the school, and in return, my payoff is I eat better than the other students.
Free education.
It's not free. That's another misnomer.
You don't have to pay for it. Yeah.
I am paying for it.
You get the best meals.
I'm paying for it by my play on the field, on the court.
Free medical.
Yeah, and why do I need the medical? Because I'm getting my brains beat in working for you.
Okay. Then.
The university.
So what's your point?
My point is, if universities were factories, which they are, because the production of athletes to go into the paid field of athleticism, which is the NFL or the NBA, because we're only talking football and basketball, only two revenue-generating sports. If this was done anywhere else, there'd be a congressional investigation into the violation of labor laws. That's the point. If you're a football player, let's use football starting off. And forget football. March Madness. We're talking about basketball right now. Last night when the tournament came on, it was on how many stations? 4. If that doesn't tell you the intrinsic value of what's happening with March Madness, because there's nothing else that's going to be simulcast on 4 different networks just for your enjoyment at home.
Let me get these stats for you, Joseph.
Please do.
I went into the lab yesterday. I'm surprised I don't have them down here on the desk before me.
Right.
So if our viewing audience will excuse me.
As you run and go get them. Wait a minute. As you run, I'll do the Jeopardy. Boo, 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 boo.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, that was fast.
Okay, I'm going to give you some numbers here, Joe.
Give me some numbers.
And our listening audience and our viewing audience. I'm going to give you some numbers. Forbes, the Forbes peoples.
Yeah.
They,
Steve Forbes magazine.
Yeah, they come up with, a list of the most valuable this and who got the most money in this and, millionaires, billionaires, all that sort of thing.
Yep.
So Forbes came up with the most valuable basketball teams, college teams. Now, I'm going to just start off with Illinois. Illinois came in at number 13.
Meaning?
Team value is $15.8 million.
Stop right there. Team value of the University of Illinois men's basketball team is $15.8 million.
Yeah.
Keep going.
They made a profit. I'm pretty much thinking these were last year's numbers. They made a profit of $10.3 million. Bam!
So they gross 15.
No, the team is valued at 15.
15, but the actual profit, the net value of Illinois basketball is $10 million.
Yeah, that's how much they made a profit.
And how much did the players?
And that was up 12% of the previous year.
So now, what you're telling me, if that's up 12%, that's $1.2 million. Keep going, because you are already proving my point.
Okay.
Reading your numbers.
At number 14, Michigan State, $14.2 million
Value.
They made a profit of $8.3 million.
Just right behind Illinois.
At number 11, Michigan State, $17.1 million.
Michigan State for 14. Man.
No, Michigan.
Michigan for 14.
Yeah, Michigan State, number 11.
Okay.
They're worth $17.1 million.
Okay.
Up 2% over last year.
Okay.
I mean, down 2% over last year. They made a profit of $9.1 million.
Okay.
Now we're going to get into the top 10. Now, this is when it gets interesting. Duke, team that lost a little while ago.
They lost, but they're winning.
Yeah. Duke is worth $18.9 million.
Okay.
That's a private school. Syracuse coming in at number 9, $21 million. Wisconsin at number 8, $21.1 million. Ohio State coming in at number 7, $22.9 million. Number 6, Arizona. Wait a minute, Arizona, I forgot to write Arizona down. Here. Number 5, Indiana, $25.4 million.
Still listening.
Number 4, North Carolina, $25.7 million. Number 3, Kentucky, $32.5 million. Number 2, Kansas, $33 million. And the number 1 school, most valued, according to Forbes, Louisville, $39.5 million.
Okay. And you're saying to the viewing audience, listening audience,
Just for me.
and to me, off of reading that list.
You close to what, a billion?
But after reading that list, you don't think that Division I men's basketball players should be paid?
I never said that.
Okay, what are you now saying? I'm trying to figure out where you're going with this conversation.
We're discussing whether or not they should be.
And to me, it's a mute discussion. It is an irrelevant discussion. The numbers answer the question. Should they be paid? If you've got a school like Louisville, however y'all say it down there, who generates a value of almost $40 million, and somebody's going to try to use the old archaic argument How about you get a free education? It ain't free. Because Forbes magazine does a valuation of the top degrees in terms of jobs each year. So if you go into accounting or business and admin or marketing or whatever field you go into, they tell you how much you should expect in terms of the median salary when you go out there. So there is a price on the education.
Okay, whenever we have this argument, I always say it at the end. It's never going to happen.
And you're wrong. And I'll tell you why you're wrong. There's a lot of things we thought never would happen. We thought there never would have been a BCS. We thought there'd never be a playoff in the college system. We thought that when the tournament came out, when me and you were coming up, it was 32 teams? Now it's up to 68. We never thought that we'd be watching the tournament on 4 channels.
It used to be just
one. And then they would have to break in to every game. Oh, this last second shot here. And then, let's go to Louisville. And that's all they did. No. Money makes everything go in this country.
Let me ask you this. Do you know what paying college players would bring into the onto the University of Illinois campuses? You're talking about now you're going to have agents. Now you're going to have publicity people. Now you're going to have unions.
First of all, you already have agents and PR people. The Department of Intercollegiate Athletics does a fantastic job in terms of PR. You walk into
I'm talking about individual players.
Let me finish my point.
Oh, okay.
The individual players are getting marketed, Sam. When you walk into Ubben and look on the wall, what do you see? The player's image on a giant poster with their number on and their jersey on there. When you go to the game and you're at the assembly hall, whose face is plastered on the video screen with their number and where they're from and what year they are in school? You don't really need an individual agent when they're being marketed that way to begin with. Well, why are they being marketed that way? To generate revenue for the university.
Okay.
And there's no compensation for the use of the imagery of that.
You're playing players. You're going to play players. Paying players.
Paying players.
Some players going to get a little bit more than other players because they are
more valuable.
Correct.
Happens in labor every day.
So you're going to need somebody to negotiate how much this individual is going to get paid.
No, you don't.
Yes, you do.
No, you don't.
What you going to come? A coach going to come in, or
no.
AD going to say, well, we think you're real valuable to this team. We're going to give you, say, $25. Then I come in there, hey, how much? Well, I'm going to give you, $7.
Right now they slot, and this is the reason why I'm saying you don't have to negotiate it. They slot the value in the NBA of the top pick compared to the second pick, third pick, and so on. So when you're the first pick in the NBA, you know exactly within a few $100,000 of how much money you're going to expect on your contract. The number 2 guy knows where he's going to be. He's not going to be ahead of you, and so on. There's no need for negotiation there. That's why back in the day, remember we used to have holdouts. A rookie would get drafted, but he wouldn't play. I'm holding out. No, their numbers are slotted now. That's the same thing that would happen in terms of paying players. You're a starter, and you're the high point man. This is how much you get paid. Your number 2 guy, this is what you get paid. Your number 10 guy, this is what you get paid. There's no argument there. The money gets slotted. Classic example. You're a hard-working man. You love the union. You believe in the union. When you come in as an apprentice union carpenter, how much you going to get paid? They tell you.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not going to get paid what the experienced guy gets paid.
Right.
Same thing. This is why I said, if you looked at it from a labor standpoint, as opposed to looking at it from a sports standpoint, it's done every day in our society. People get paid based on their value. Now, what you may have in terms of opening this Pandora's box is Kentucky pays $50,000 for their starters. Illinois only pays $30,000 for their starters. So, people say, well, Kentucky's still going to get the better players. Kentucky pays their players right now. You'd have to be an idiot to think that everybody goes to Kentucky as a top athlete because John Calipari is such a nice guy.
So what do you know that everybody else doesn't know?
What do I know that everybody else doesn't know? I don't know anything. But I would have to say you'd have to be Stevie Wonder or Ray Charles and Helen Keller not to see why does everybody go to Kentucky?
It's a winning basketball program.
If there's such a winning
It's the
basketball,
stepping stone to the NBA.
if you're a top 10 player, you go into the NBA whether you go to Kentucky or you drinking Kentucky. That's the ludicrous argument that people, oh well, they go to Kentucky so that because they know when they go to Kentucky they're going to be a winner. What seed is Kentucky in this year's NCAA tournament?
Well, we already
No.
I don't know, but we already talked about why they're at where they're at this year.
No, they're not. Don't change. Use the same logic when you use the conversation. If you're going to say that people go to Kentucky because they're a winning program, and then you look at them and they're a 9th seed in the NCAA tournament, and last year they didn't even make the NCAA tournament, that's the fallacy of the argument.
After they won the NCAA tournament, that because all their players, I don't want to use the T, young, but like you say, they got all these McDonald All-Americans, this, that, and the other. They just don't know how to play together.
Okay, but that has nothing to do with the argument of what you just used, which is, as I said, the fallacy of the argument. Everybody goes to Kentucky because they're a winning program.
Exactly.
No, everybody goes to Kentucky because they know they can get taken care of better than any other college in the nation. If it was about winning, they'd win every year. They may have an early exit every now and then from the tournament. It ain't about winning. It's about getting paid and going to the next level. That's all they want to do. You can do that anywhere.
That's just a hustle.
And they getting hustled.
But
Calipari, I will say this. If you look at John Calipari's track record, correlating this back to the conversation we're having, he was at UMass. Who the heck is traveling all the way out to the East Coast into the colonial states to go to school to play basketball? Once he left, what happened to UMass basketball program? Investigation, trouble. He leaves UMass and goes to Memphis. Memphis, okay basketball program. He gets down there, he gets Derrick Rose to come all the way from Chicago to go to University of Memphis. If Derrick Rose is going to your argument about winning, he'd have went to Kentucky then, because Kentucky's always supposed to have been a winner. He went to Carolina or Duke.
Well, Calipari let somebody take Rose tests.
Oh, it wasn't that too. But he goes to Memphis.
Okay.
He leaves Memphis. They got some shenanigans. You talk about the D Roses. Now he's at Kentucky. Do you actually think that it's like spick and span, Mr. Clean, Windex, transparently clean down there? No.
Well.
No. Final thing. You live in Chicago. University of Illinois is a stone's throw away. You can have your family see every game you play because it's just a straight shot down I-57. But for some reason, you skip that and go to Lexington, Kentucky. And the only thing that's down there is horses and basketball.
So, with that being said, what the NCAA needs, they need a Kurt Flood. They need a basketball player to walk off the floor. I ain't paying no more until I get played. All the players do that. Sort of like a strike.
Well, remember what I said when Dr. Bates was here. Final Four. Imagine the guy's not coming out the locker room for the Final Four about this subject matter right here, and the amount of money that's being paid by sponsors and corporations to televise the Final Four, and nobody comes on the floor. It catapults this subject matter to the forefront, there would be some movement on this subject matter. But I still go back to who would sacrifice playing in a Final Four and an NCAA championship game for this cause.
Nobody.
Right.
So we just here bumping our guns.
Well, what's going to happen, I think this, on a serious note, I do believe this is a long-term project in terms of, as we talked earlier, how do you determine how much you pay them, who gets slotted where, is it a across-the-board same payment for every university, or is there levels based on, you know, if Louisville's got 40 million, Illinois got 15 million.
And then you got players going to the schools that paying the most money. That wouldn't be fair. It would have to be a set salary across the board.
Hold on a minute. Let me shake you a little bit. Say that one more time.
It wouldn't be fair.
This is America.
I know it.
The only thing you're going to get at a fair is a pig and an elephant ear. There's
Anyway,
nothing fair in America.
we'll see what happens. Like I said, it ain't gonna never happen. While we're still on college, Bruce Pearl came out of hiding, whatever rock he was under.
He was in that ESPN rock.
Whatever whatever. I mean, he been gone for 3. Wasn't he on? He been sanctioned or blacklisted, or blackballed or something.
When he was at Tennessee,
Huh?
he lied.
So now he's going down to Auburn. He's going to be coaching the basketball team down at Auburn. So
Yeah.
lucky him. I mean, they showed him getting out, waving out the private jet like Nixon. I am not a crook.
Yes, I am.
But,
I just stole $2.5 million from Auburn.
Yeah, but he's back on the scene. So, all right, we're gonna go take another break. What time is it? Yeah, we're gonna take another break. When we come back, we're gonna talk about some more movement in the NFL. Hester's down in
Hot Atlanta.
Atlanta now, so he's gonna be running back punts and kickoffs for the Falcons. Also, some movement, Matt Schaub, Jared Allen, and we're gonna talk about them when we get back.
Welcome back. Talking Sports WBCP 1580.
You know, whenever you started, I wanted to start walking in the room doing that Pink Panther walk.
Oh, smooth.
Yeah, you know, he got a smooth walk, Pink Panther.
Oh. Now you talking about the cartoon, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know. I remember back in the day when you used to go to the movie, the drive-in, and they always showed Pink Panther commercial, cartoon.
Cartoon, yeah, Chili Willy and
Dating ourselves right there.
Chili Willy was my favorite.
Well, you're right. Pink Panther, smooth.
Mm-hmm. Pepe Le Pew, smoother.
Oh, smoothest. The biggest pimp.
Yeah, you didn't.
Mac in the world.
You didn't have nothing on Pepe.
You a skunk. You stink. You know you stink. And you still hollering like you the Mac.
He was mad. And that poor cat
Oh, she used to.
always get the stripe on her back.
There you go. And here you go. Oh,
And here he comes.
my Darlene. Your eyes are like limpid pools. Mm-hmm.
Where's my list?
And Pepe Le Pew would be in jail for sexual harassment today.
He sure would.
Because he was putting his hands all on that cat. She's like, hold on, time out, player.
Keep trying to get away from him, but he won't let it go.
No, stalking. Pepe Le Pew, he had a felony on his head.
Yes, he would.
Wow.
What you do
You know,
about
we used
this?
to look at some. I think that's one reason why we warped compared to,
Man, they don't even have cartoons. Do they have cartoons anymore?
they have them, but they're all educational. Like they're trying to teach kids something. Who wants to learn something on Saturday morning?
Yeah, we need some Yogi Bear and
Stealing picnic baskets.
Boo Boo, Quick Draw McGraw, Underdog.
Hey, see, had no riffraff, a straight gangster. Would
Yo.
shake you down, turn you upside down, and shake the change out your pocket.
Let's don't forget Moose and Squirrel.
Did Moose and Squirrel,
Yeah,
Rocky,
yeah.
and Bullwinkle.
All the good old days.
Kind of digress there.
Yeah, the good old days. I miss them.
I do too.
I mean, that made Saturday mornings worth getting up for.
Hey, and if you overslept, you'd be angry. You had to wait a whole week.
Before you get to see some cartoons.
There you go.
You get up, fix you a bowl of Fruit Loops.
Frosted Flakes.
Turn the TV on.
Sit down with crisscross applesauce with your legs.
Yeah. And watch some cartoons.
Had them cowboy pajamas on. And a T-shirt.
Bring them back, Joe. Bring them back.
Got to, because I'm telling you, there's nothing better than a violent cartoon.
And why did they get rid of the Cartoon Network? I'm still trying to figure that out.
I don't know. I think we need to go on a boycott of cable until they bring it back.
That's crazy.
Me and you.
Now you got to watch The Simpsons.
Well, I can do Family Guy and The Simpsons, because they're very vulgar. I like that. You ever watch Cleveland, the Cleveland show?
Yeah, didn't they? I think this only in syndicated. Didn't they cut Cleveland off?
Yeah, well, it's a black man. Black man, even in cartoons, can't get it.
Can't make it.
Can't make it. Whether you're alive or you're a cartoon animated figure,
can't make it.
Can't not make it in Hollywood.
It's tough out here for a brother.
And Cleveland was one of them slow brothers too.
Mm.
Hey, Sam.
All right, go on, man.
Let's get back on sports.
Yeah, let's talk sports. All right, of course, this free agency thing is going on in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Some more signings have been taking place. Devin Hester, I mentioned that earlier before we went to break. Now with Atlanta, what does that do for the Falcons?
Oh, the toughest part about this, because he only plays kick returner, and Roger Goodell's goal is to get the kickoff out of the game. He's almost used the rules to render guys like Devin Hester obsolete.
Well, the reason why they want to get rid of the kickoff is because of the violent collisions that take place during kickoffs.
So, because I totally agree with you on that, now you bring in a guy like Devin Hester. Now
he's basically out of a job.
Right, because
punters out of a job, kickers out of a job.
He comes in as a kick returner. He's not going to get too many opportunities. Punt return, all you got to do is directional kick it out of bounds, and you could render him obsolete in a game. Years ago when he first came in, when the kickoff was still from what was it, the 30 or 35. Excuse me, wherever they kicked the ball from. He was a weapon, and I think what it was that lunacy of the arrogance of most coaches. I'm gonna kick him. He ain't gonna run that. Oh my God, there you go. Somebody. Why did you take him? Well, who kicked it? Well, coach, you say I did.
Our special teams suck.
Right? No, you suck, coach, for making that decision. So, does it do anything for the Falcons? Well, it brings that what we talked about a week or two ago. That emotional energy to the fan base. Hey, the owner really likes us. He brought in Hester.
Mm-hmm.
Does it really do anything for your football team based on the rules? We'll see.
All right.
We shall see.
The Seattle Seahawks. Now, Minnesota they didn't let Jared Allen go. He went to go test the free agent market. He then wound up in Seattle.
He's gone to Seattle. He's gone to Dallas. I forgot the other team. He's going to make his final decision this weekend.
I thought he signed with that. With the Seahawks.
He came out and said that he'll make his final decision.
Oh,
that was a little premature reporting on, these guys want to be first.
Oh, I was misinformed.
Yeah, they want to be first instead of being right. And that's one of the problems with 24-hour news cycles is everybody wants to be first. But he said that he will wait until this weekend to make his final decision. Because he's almost in that, I don't want to put him in the same category as Urlacher was. But remember when Urlacher was battling with the Bears and the Bears was like, hey, here's $2 million, take it or leave it. Remember we talked about the fact that the worst thing in the NFL to be is over 30.
Mm-hmm.
He's over 30. You're not going to get the money you think you deserve. At that point, they're going to say, hey, I know you got 128 sacks and, you're the top active guy and all that other stuff. But you're 34 years old, and we can get a 24-year-old to do the same job for half the price. And that's where these issues come in with a guy like a Jared Allen, is that I don't think anybody's going to give him his value for what he thinks he's worth. They're going to pay him what they can get him for. And that's where these veterans then have to make the decision. Do I take the money and play on a defending Super Bowl championship team where I may have a chance of going to, because that's his goal. He wants to get to the Super Bowl and get a couple dollars on that last contract. It makes you wonder.
How redundant is that? Okay, they go to the Super Bowl. Oh, I got another chance to go to the Super Bowl. They just won the Super Bowl. I want to get on their team. How often do NFL teams repeat as Super Bowl winners?
I'm glad you brought that up. You, as the sports aficionado that you are, think about from the last 20 years. And when I say 20 years, we're just going back to the 90s. Think of the last team that repeated as Super Bowl champs. Ain't coming up with one, is you? See? This is TV and radio. You do have we don't want to hear your gears grinding while you're thinking about it. The point is...
Who was it?
Last time I can think of is going back when the 49ers did the repeat, but that was like 89, 90, 90, 91. Somewhere around there.
That's a long time ago.
Right. Patriots ain't repeated.
No.
Rams didn't repeat.
No. Bears, no.
Bears didn't repeat. No.
Coach didn't.
That's in the modern age. Once you get to the pinnacle, everybody. We talked earlier about collegiate players getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
What happens to most teams when they get to the top? Everybody's value is inflated.
Right.
Man, if it wasn't for me, we wouldn't have made it to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of here. Man, if it wasn't for me, we would get out of here. So now ownership is like, I can replace you with a... Now that's the arrogance of ownership. Because they're thinking, we can put anybody out there and win the Super Bowl.
I mean, for prime examples, when in 04, 05, when the Florida Marlins won the World Series.
And they said, we'd like to have a team meeting and bring all your stuff.
And fired everybody the next day.
Hey guys, thanks for the World Series trophy. Get out of here.
Yeah, fired everybody the next day. That's crazy.
Right, but that's the... When we joke back and forth about money, but that's the reality of sports now. That owners think, if I get the right coach and get 3 players, give me a quarterback, give me a left tackle to protect my quarterback, and give me a guy on the defensive side that can get all the other 10 guys in a crazed frenzy, I think I can win it. And they try it every year. And so that's why I like going back to Jared Allen. They win the Super Bowl, and now he's like, oh, I'm going to jump on their bandwagon.
Jump on their bandwagon.
They may make the playoffs.
Yeah, but you must admit, most of their team is coming back.
Mm-hmm.
They have a very good chance of repeating as Super Bowl champions.
If you look at Seattle compared to anybody else, they've probably got the best chance. However, like I said, we just described it. Stuff happens. Russell Wilson, now he's a pop star. Now I'm going to play baseball and football.
No, he just went to spring training. I don't think he's going to play.
Where was he at last year? That's the point. He wasn't even... There was no interest in Russell Wilson being in spring training last year. He was focusing on being a better football player. Now that he's gotten to the pinnacle so quick, let me go ahead and parlay this into something. I go to spring training, get some extra looks. It ain't about playing baseball. It's about the celebrity of being a Super Bowl winner.
Exactly.
And that's my point about how focus gets lost. Because now he wasn't doing that last year.
Well, you not on that. You don't see linemen going out,
But they might do some celebrity mud wrestling. Or,
there you go, wrestling.
Wrestling, right? RASSLE. Or no, LIN. It's wrestling.
Wrestling. They might do that, but they don't go on the tours like your quarterbacks and your receivers don't do it very often.
Right.
But mainly it's your QB. Your QB is your money man.
The other thing about free agency is that, as I said earlier, it gives an emotional boost to the fan base. Oh, man, look who we signed. Look who we signed. But remember we talked about motivation. Now a guy signs and gets that big check. And he's gotten his guaranteed money up front. It's in his bank account. What's his motivation?
Oh, come on. I come play. You better earn your money.
Or what? I got it. If I play and I don't play it to the levels you thought I was, cut me. I'm paid.
That's probably what's going to happen, too. Next thing you know, you blackballed in the league. Because,
right.
Owners talk, coaches talk.
That's cool. But quarterback.
All right, who else is moving?
Matt Schaub possibly going to the Raiders.
Yeah. I think they're gonna trade up for him. I think or trade
Well,
down
they're
for
gonna
him.
give probably a 5th or 6th round draft pick for him. My thing is this: why even do that when you know they're gonna cut him? Why would you in the NFL today? If there's somebody that is can't miss, but you hear all these conversations, why would you even trade when teams when they get players that are so disgruntled, they know they're not going to keep them.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't even trade for him. Just cut him, and then I pick him up as a free agent.
Well, I mean, look, the reason why they can afford to trade him or want to trade him because, I don't know which pick Houston has, and he'll probably.
They got the number 1 pick.
Oh, do? Okay, who they gonna get? They gonna get that Manziel.
They've been talking about the Bartles kid out of Florida.
They said he's about the best quarterback in the draft.
So my point is, you're the Raiders. You know I'm getting ready to draft whoever, number 1. More than likely it's going to be a quarterback. Once I do that, Matt Schaub's not going to be on the team. So why would you trade me a pick when you know you can get him basically for free? Because he's going to get cut. That's why I'm saying trades are, to me, obsolete in the NFL. Right now, the New York Jets are in discussion with Philadelphia about Deshaun Jackson. Michael Vick's supposed to go to New York this weekend to possibly be either starter or backup for the Jets. The Eagles are not going to bring Deshaun Jackson back once they put him out there like that.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going to happen is if I'm the other 31 teams, as great a talent as he is, I'm still not trading with you because you've got to cut him because he's going to be so disgruntled. There's no way he would come back and function within the locker room and in the film room with that team.
Why go to the Jets though?
Well, let's go back to Eric Decker. Remember Eric Decker from Denver?
That's where he
signed
went.
a big contract with them. And the argument that we were having back then about, well, Decker can do this. No, Decker left Denver for one reason only: money. That's why you sign with the Jets. The biggest media market in the football world is New York. That's why you sign with them. You go there, you parlay, even if you're going to have a mediocre season, you parlay that into millions in terms of endorsements and advertisement and everything else that you can do. That's why you go to New York. Victor Cruz. Think about Victor Cruz. I know it was a small thing, but here it is, Victor Cruz, unknown free agent from the University of Massachusetts. Had some great seasons. They win the Super Bowl. Next thing you know, he's chunky soup salesman. Do you think Victor Cruz, if he played for the Indianapolis Colts or the Carolina Panthers, could have parlayed that into the same thing?
I don't know why not.
Huh?
I mean, Manning did when he was at Indianapolis.
Say that name again.
Manning,
Quarterback.
Peyton Manning.
We're talking about a receiver, lesser known receiver.
And what's the linebacker for the Packers? He does them Chucky.
Matthews.
Yeah, he does them Chucky commercials too.
Another one of the more respected teams in the league. Not talking about a lesser known receiver. I mean, that's my point. Is that's why you go to New York. You ask the question, why do you go to New York? That's why.
Well, let's hope it works out. Who else moving around?
Well, the Bears are losing a lot of their defensive players.
Didn't they get rid of a Bennett dude?
Well, they cut Earl Bennett, the receiver. But, the Bears are pretty set there. But going back to their defense, they let Henry Melton go. Now, Henry Melton was all-pro a year ago. This past year, after one game, he tore his ACL. And Henry Melton is now a Cowboy. Corey Wooten, the big, tall defensive end, who got moved to defensive tackle because Melton was out, he just signed today with the Minnesota Vikings. Julius Peppers, the legendary all-pro defensive end, is with the Green Bay Packers now. So you see a lot of movement in Chicago, but it's mostly guys leaving and going. You got two defensive players going to divisional rivals. And I'm just wondering, Phil Emery and Mark Trestman, they've got obviously their core system, which is on offense with signing Cutler. You got Alshon Jeffries, Marcellus Bennett, Brandon Marshall. that's the core. And then you got Matt Forte as your running back. So they're banking on that offense to score enough points. So maybe overcome their deficiency on defense.
And we all know how that works out.
Well, did it work last year? As I said a couple weeks ago, they lost the last game of the season because of what? The weakness on defense.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't show up at all on defense, other than bringing in, I think, as M.D. Jennings, safety out of Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it. Defensive line weak, linebacker core weak. It's not the Bears that we know and people love, because we hate them.
Yeah. So Bear fans, they're gonna need a program to find out who's on their squad next
They're
year.
gonna need a serious program to know who their defense. And then the final thing I'll say, imagine when they play Green Bay and Julius Peppers getting 4 and 5 sacks against Cutler, and then they play Minnesota and Wooten's coming off the edge doing the same thing, and these are former Bears. I wonder what the fan base in Chicago will be thinking then.
Boo.
Horrible movie.
All right, let's jump to the NBA real quick. How much time we got left? Okay. Phil Jackson then came out of the hole off and under the rock he was in. He then took his, what they call it, Zen or whatever it is he does.
Zen Master?
To New York.
Yeah.
He is now president of the New York Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
Spiced up the Knicks a little bit. Matter of fact, they didn't won something like 7 of their last 9 games, something like that. So, good move, bad news. Phil just looking to do something.
I think it's a combination. I think, number one, it's a good move for the Knicks because this year the franchise is really spiraling out of control. You got Carmelo Anthony, one of the top scorers in the league right now. You've got a salary-capped lineup, so you've got to make some changes there. Carmelo can opt out in the summertime, and there's a lot of rumors. Chicago, Los Angeles. Where is Melo going to end up? If you lose Carmelo Anthony right now, you basically lose the centerpiece of your team. You talk about Phil Jackson being the Zen Master. I think he's going back to New York because that's where it all began for him.
Mm-hmm.
And the last championship the Knicks won was when he was there with Willis Reed, and Walt Frazier, and Earl Monroe, and those guys. So that's been 40.
So he's not coming in to coach. Basically, he's just coming in and be president of the ball club.
Yeah, he's going to come in. I think what you'll see is after the season's over with, Mike Woodson, the coach, he'll probably be let loose. And then you'll see some other things happen in terms of, like I said, player movement, etc. So, there's a lot of different things that'll be happening. We're going to go to the phone lines, 359-9227, 359-9227. So,
it's a phone call for me?
Yes, it's for you.
Must be a business call. Carry on, Joe. I'll be right back. Be right back.
Not a problem. Now I'll talk to myself on TV. And Sam was talking about with the Knicks. The bigger issue for the league is Phil Jackson's relationship with Jeannie Buss. Jeannie Buss is the daughter of Jerry Buss, who just passed away last year, who was the owner of the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, Jeannie and Phil have had a relationship since 1999. I think everybody knows Phil's history with the Lakers in terms of being the coach, where they won several championships under Phil. And now the question is, will there be any conflict of interest with the relationship between Phil Jackson and Jeannie Buss? First of all, with them being on opposite ends of the country, and then both of them being involved in the day-to-day operations of 2 of the storied franchises in the NBA. Now, Jeannie Buss's brother, Jim Buss, is the president of the Lakers at this present moment, but I know a lot of people have been disgruntled with him. Kobe Bryant, Magic Johnson, you name it. Former Lakers and past Lakers have really been upset with the way this thing has gone with Jim Buss at the helm and Mike D'Antoni as the head coach. And a lot of people thought that this was, and myself included, thought that Phil Jackson was using the Knicks as leverage to get himself on with the Lakers at that time. But now that hasn't happened, he signed a contract. It's going to be real interesting to see how the NBA handles that delicate relationship between Jeannie Buss, Phil Jackson, the Lakers, and the Knicks, and how that thing is going to move forward.
Okay. Speaking of the Lakers, you see where they signed, gave Kobe Bryant something like $28 million?
Well, Kobe signed a 2-year extension.
And got people all up in arms.
You know, and he got people all up in arms, but they didn't have to do it, and they did it. Kobe didn't. There was not a thing where Kobe forced their hand to do this or something like that. And I look at it from this standpoint. It was a bad move. It was a bad basketball move because remember when we were joking around. I was talking about the idiot fan. But when it comes to making the shrewd business decision, that is the responsibility of the general manager or president. And you look at Kobe Bryant, he is a Achilles injury and a knee injury from basically missing a season and a half.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to get to the level of performance that he had before. Father Time is undefeated. Nobody has beat Father Time. Kobe is no exception. The only way Kobe Bryant is going to be able to lift the Lakers back up to that historical championship days gone by is if they bring in LeBron or Melo or Kevin Love, and Kobe ends up being
a role player,
the Dwayne Wade to the LeBron James. His ego's not going to allow him to be that. It's not.
I was thinking, after, like you said, he missed a year and a half of the season. I'm thinking, Kobe, it's about time to let it go.
Right. So if you're playing the role of GM or president of the Lakers,
you pull Kobe in the office and you say, "Hey, dude, you ain't played a year and a half."
But you already done paid him.
I know.
So how do you have a conversation?
Take the money and run.
Who? The Lakers take it back?
Well, I wouldn't have gave it to him to begin with.
Right, but that's my point.
But since you didn't gave it to him,
you stuck. That's why it's a horrible business decision.
What you gonna do with him?
You cut him. Here's the.
You didn't pay him. Now you're gonna cut him.
No, I'm saying before the conversation about money, you should have cut him. Let Kobe go wherever he wanted to go. You have to recognize with everything.
The Laker fans would hate you.
Hate me all you want. It's inevitable. If I don't, there's a business decision. Let's write it down. 28, as Dr. Evil would say, $1 million. Or let's take 28 million so that we can do LBJ, Melo, Kevin Love.
I think that's going to cost you more than $28 million.
But it's a start. Would you rather give 28 million to a broken down horse, or give 28 million as your foundation for 3 thoroughbreds? It's simple.
I think they gave him to extensions so he can go out as a Laker. He can retire as a Laker.
But there's ways you can do that. Going back to your point about bringing him in and saying, hey, if you want to go out as a Laker, this is the way we're going to have to do the money. They didn't do that. They just said, hey, we think Kobe, 28 million. Now, the argument is some money is for time served. You think about Michael, it's similar when Michael Jordan used to negotiate those 1-year deals with Jerry Krause, and they'd give him 1 year for $30 million, when Mike's value at that time would have been in excess of $75 to $100 million. So he was giving the Bulls a serious discount. So maybe this is the argument that they're using in LA, is that this is a Kobe discount by giving him that money. But as you said earlier, I'd be a hated man in LA. But I'd rather be a hated man for that time. And then a year later, when we've gone to the NBA Finals, may not have won it, but I've gotten the team back at prominence. Because right now, if Gary Coleman was alive, he wouldn't go to the center and see the game. They don't get the A-listers.
Clippers do now.
Right. And even the Clippers. No, it's the Clippers.
Yeah, it's the Clippers.
So it's one of those things that, we talk a lot of dollars and cents on the show, and in this case, I know it sounds shrewd and harsh, hey, Kobe, I can't take you and put 4 role players on the floor and win anymore. It's hard. When he was healthy just a couple years ago, what happened? Kobe couldn't get over the hump over Kevin Durant. That was Kevin Durant 3-4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely ain't getting past Kevin Durant now. Dwight Howard was in Orlando. Now he's in Houston. You're not getting past Houston, Kobe. Phoenix is young and up and coming. You're not getting past them. So the point is to look at it from a basketball standpoint. He's got diminishing skills. Everybody else is on the ascent. That means that when that line intersected where he had met here and they were going here, that's when you have to recognize and say, okay, we're at a point of diminishing returns with Kobe Bryant. Now, to me, arguably one of the top 5 players of all time. But at this point, with the injuries, wouldn't have paid him.
Don't you just feel bad when you see your career coming to an end and you look back over the years, you walk into the Staples Center and you look up at the rafters. I put up about 4 or 5 of those.
See?
Now,
Think about how
now you're just sitting on the bench watching run them down the floor.
you just a guy.
Yeah.
Everybody has to. Magic Johnson.
You know, everybody talk to you softly now when they used to.
Hey, man, how you doing?
Yeah, you all right?
You okay? Hey, you look good, man. Man, you looking good. Hey, keep it up.
Yeah.
Keep that chin up.
Yeah, there you go.
And then they leave with somebody else.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
Mello.
Exactly.
You know. And then back in the day when the limo was pull up, you get in the limo.
Mm-hmm.
Now car pull up. It's your wife.
Yeah.
Get in. We gotta go get these kids.
She rolling up in the escort.
Right. Angry.
Mm-hmm.
Hair and rollers.
You driving your own self to the stadium now.
I'll walk. Hey, Kobe, you need a ride? No, man, I'm good. I'm good.
I know your ankle messed up. Come on,
See?
get in, man.
Come on, man. You know you don't need to be walking on that knee.
Yeah, it's terrible, man.
Man, wife wouldn't give you a ride, huh? Oh, she had to go get the kids. Man, the kids getting big, ain't they? I remember when you was good.
What we gonna do, Joe, when it's time for us to cut the mic off for the last time and ride off into the sunset? Our skills didn't got diminished. We can't sit here and talk like we used to talk.
Man, I remember your tongue was fast.
Yeah.
Now you're slurring your words.
You just talk them big words.
Mm-hmm. Now look at you.
Now you're using and
hey,
what?
What? Huh?
All those.
That's how we communicate. Like I said, Father Time, undefeated.
Quickly, Central played in the sectional
Final
last week. Didn't do too well.
Well, we talked about it last week. We played the number 2 ranked team. Stayed on that Tuesday. Springfield Landfair came through with a 78-73 victory, and then on that Friday took the number 1 ranked team, Lincoln. And as you said, it wasn't as good as it was that Tuesday. Lost 47-30. There's a reason why Lincoln, the Rail Splitters, is the number 1 ranked team in the state. Because then they followed up this past Tuesday and beat Cahokia 40-37, and so they're now playing Rockford Lutheran today in the state semifinal Class 3A to see if they make it to the championship game tomorrow over in Peoria.
So what Lincoln is the only local team that we have that is
if you use that
running for state, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And like I said earlier, I mean, discipline ridiculous. I mean, Lincoln offensively spreads you out, moves the ball, such precision for a high school team. And then on defense, they run that same 1-2-2 that they've been running since Duncan Reed.
Who?
That's the point. They've had coaches from Duncan Reed to Lauren Wallace to now Neil Alexander, who's the coach. Nothing changed over the years with those 3 coaches. They run the same system. Somebody in Lincoln made a decision about 40 years ago, or even longer. And that was, we're going to be good at basketball. We may not be good at anything else, but we're going to be good at basketball. And you go back to Norm Cook and his son Brian Cook, who played at Illinois, Dan Duff, who played when we played as guard.
When who played?
When I played.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they've always had just outstanding discipline on both ends of the court. But tip your hat to the Maroons and Coach Wayne McClain. This team last year at this time was 5-21. Went out the first game of the regionals, and really didn't look like there was any future with Champaign Central basketball. You fast forward to today, they won 18 games. As Coach McClain said, they may not be state champions, but they're the champions of Champaign, so that's a start. Beat Centennial twice, a heavily favored team here in the area. Beat Urbana twice. In the Centralia Holiday Tournament, beat the #1 prep school out of Missouri on the last-second three-pointer. As we talked about, beat Springfield Lanford, beat Lincoln at Lincoln. So when you look back at the season and the accomplishments that this team made, you've really got to give a big kudos not only to Coach McClain, but all the kids on the team, because they had to adjust. New coach, new system, and they had to adjust on the fly, and they did it. And the most proudest accomplishment, in this day and age, we talk about social attitudes and academic shortcomings for athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one player for Central was academically ineligible. Now, one player for Central was on social probation. That, to me, says more about anything than the 18 wins and the regional championship and all of that. Because in the end, it's about taking young men and turning them into good men so they can go out in society and be good citizens in society. Because you know as well as I do, as much as we like sports is temporary.
Mm-hmm.
All the other lessons you learn are long lasting, and that's what I saw, is that transition from simple things, from sagging pants to foul language and inappropriate behavior. None of that to really have to be concerned with the players this year. So your hat's off to them. Fabulous season, and I think Coach McClain has set a tremendous foundation at Central, and I don't know how long we're going to have him, but I just hope we have him long enough to where this foundation spreads and you affect more kids than just this group this year.
Why don't you see if you can get him down here one Friday afternoon?
We'll do that. Have a little conversation with him.
Okay. Just in, the court fight over NFL concussion should be getting a verdict soon. A judge in Philadelphia weighed the fairness of the proposed $755 million settlement. Now, lead players lawyer Sochi Weiss expect the judge's financial expert to advise her shortly on the view of the plan. Brady is let me get that. Senior U.S. District Judge Anita Brady will then hold a fairness hearing when financial details will emerge. Brody is concerned that the money won't cover the 20,000 retirees for 65 years.
Okay. That was when they came up with that settlement.
Especially when the NFL is worth $9 billion.
Right, and you hear, was it 765 million?
Mm-hmm.
And you hear that number as a layperson, that's an astronomical number. We can't fathom that number in terms of, man, 70. But if you think about the number of players,
didn't the lottery, the jackpot lottery, get up to about $775 million at one point?
Got close to it. But you're talking about, like I said, a lump sum settlement for one person in a lottery. That number is not even a lump sum settlement. That's going to be money spread out over the years.
65 years.
And you think about the number of players who've been affected by some of these debilitating injuries by playing football, and when you start to spread it out over those number of players over the number of years that you mentioned, it's not as much money as now. The pot shrinks, and it shrinks significantly.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, that's why that judge did not allow that settlement to go through. And that's why they're bringing in some experts to look at these numbers and say, hey, $765 million. That's a lot of money, but in the scheme of things and what they're trying to do in terms of health and preventive maintenance.
Yeah, this $200 check a month.
See, and you imagine a guy who's suffering from CTE.
Mm-hmm.
You know that or what is it? Chronic traumatic encephalitis. And you know we've seen guys, John Mackey, great Hall of Fame tight end, couldn't tell you what is. I mean, he's a shell of himself. He's like a child. And you see Hall of Famers like that, and there's more stories out there, you know, other than a John Mackey. But he just, to me, would highlight and illustrate the amount of money in terms of consistent and constant care that these guys are going to need from now until. And there are some guys who need even more intensive care.
And when you look back at it, these players were only making $50,000 a year, if that much, depending on who you were.
They were the guys who made the league. They're the guys who made it so that we joke about the TV show what the NFL is now.
Mm-hmm.
But you think about the guys who, you know, went out there and left everything on the field, and during the off season had to get jobs,
right,
to supplement the income because they weren't making that much. And now you fast forward,
and they wasn't getting paid year round either.
Right, 30, 40, 50 years now, and some of the side effects of playing football are now coming out. And like you said, the pension, the medical was not good enough to take care of them. So they do need to review this. You're talking about a $9 billion entity, which is the NFL. That number's going to grow. We both know that because we already know how much money the TV networks are paying. They're going to Thursday night football across the board now.
Yeah.
It's not no special 1 or 2 games. As soon as the season starts, you're going to have football Thursday, Sunday, and Monday. Pretty soon, football will be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It'll be a 5-day-a-week event. And guess what we'll do? We'll plop down in our chairs.
Oh, yeah.
Get on our couches, pop our popcorn, get our wings.
It's the NFL.
And we're going to watch it. And the sponsor's going to pay for it. There's a lot more money coming. So they do need to review that.
And think back with this concussion thing, the equipment wasn't as good.
Equipment?
Back then.
The hat you have on now probably has more cushion in it than some of the helmets those guys wore.
Yeah, because you had the 2 ear pads,
mm-hmm.
and then you had the one across the forehead.
And that was it. And the other thing is they didn't have the testing available. And the final thing is, think about the machismo attitude back in those days. It was a badge of honor to go back on the field,
dragging your leg,
or holding your arm, or your bell rung.
Yeah.
You know, now with the technology and the medical research they've done, a guy, you know, they can grade the type of concussion you have. They take your helmet and hide it. You're not going back on the field. Imagine that when Mike Ditka and Dick Butkus and those guys played. If a player said, I got a slight headache and I've got some sparklies in front of my eyes, I don't think I'm going back in the game.
Mm-mm. Hide my helmet, you take somebody else's.
There you go. Now you're out there with a big helmet too big for you, flopping around. And
where's Joe at?
He's in the end zone.
All right, let me see what else I got. The Oakland Raiders cheerleaders, they'll be going to court next month. Of course, you know they are suing the Oakland Raiders for monies that they feel.
Because they only get paid, what, it was $100?
Yeah, $100.
A game or something like that?
That's sad.
But remember my original argument
they got to buy their own lipstick and buy their own weave.
And see, and that's where I'm on the other side of the numbers. You go into a trial for something like that, you know. This is not little. I thought I got paid. No, I'm sorry. You don't get a. You know, going into wanting to be an Oakland Raider cheerleader, what the stipend is for that.
Well, you already then checked into it, hopefully.
Right.
Before you even go to the trial, because you get thousands of these girls that show up for these.
Right. But why do they show up? Because they're using that to parlay modeling careers and other, you know, maybe I can go into acting or something like that.
Yeah, hold on. Now, most of these girls some are students, some are housewives. You have others that have regular job, realtors.
Right. So this is not. They already know this is not their main source of income. It's not like I'm going to be a Raider cheerleader. You know, what's on your resume? Well, I worked at IBM and I was a Raider cheerleader. You know, oh, you were a Raider cheerleader. Oh, well, you got the job. You know, no, you're a Raider cheerleader because you're using that to springboard some other career. You're not using that to make money. It goes to your argument about what happens with collegiate athletes.
Well, these girls want money.
Same as collegiate athletes. So if you're going to pay the Oakland Raiders cheerleaders, even though they know what the value of the job is, then why can't we pay collegiate athletes?
It'll never happen, Joe.
So then why do we have to pay the cheerleaders? Is my question.
Because they're out there.
What do they do? What intrinsic value do they bring that
eye candy?
Okay. Eye candy.
Oh, okay. Oh, don't you? We're gonna have to look at it. How much do the basketball dancers, excuse me, or cheerleaders get?
That would be something for you to go into the lab to find out. But I guarantee you, they probably make more money because why? A home cheerleader there's only 8 home games. A basketball cheerleader does what? 41 games plus playoffs.
So they get a little bit more money.
There you go. You're working a little longer. Do a little bit more.
Closer to the people.
Close to the people. Hey, controlled environment. You know, you imagine you're a cheerleader, it might get 40 degrees, a little windstorm or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
All right, clean it up. We are on TV.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, see.
All right. Anything else?
Tiger Woods not playing this weekend. Arnold Palmer, back spasms. You know, we talked earlier about Kobe Bryant. You know, the beginning of the end. Any athlete, any sport, baseball, football, basketball, golf, tiddlywinks, my favorite. Once you start to see the minor injury and the nagging injuries start to come into play, that's the beginning of the end of that athlete. Because once you correct one thing, the second thing goes.
Yeah, you're not in the limelight anymore.
Right.
Matter of fact, they don't even show Tiger on golf promos anymore.
No need to. When you've got McIlroy and all these other, Webb Simpson and all these other young up-and-coming golfers that are bringing that new energy into the sport.
Well, you know, as Tiger Woods, wouldn't that tell you something?
Yeah, but just like what we said about Kobe Bryant, his ego is no different. Tiger Woods believes that he can play golf till he's 60.
Most of them do.
It doesn't mean you're winning. It's not about playing to. He's a winner.
Now you're on the seniors tour.
Right. Now you're out there with your rascal going from hole 1 to 2, you know, and your false teeth popping out every other hole.
Now you're on the seniors tour.
There you go. So.
And they only do about 3 or 4 of those, if that many.
Yeah, because it's a Maalox moment every now and then.
All right, it's time to get back to basketball.
Yeah.
Joe. So that's going to do it for this edition of Talking Sports. We do this each and every Friday from 2 to 4. You tune in next week. We'll lace them up and do it again. Say goodbye, Joe.
Hey, how much are you worth? What's in your wallet?
Nothing.